Hi, my name is Keenan,
My name's Steve.
and this is Saving Lives with Drones. Well, this is episode 012.
That's impressive.
It is impressive. So let's talk about our sponsor, Sky Imagery Services, one of Chicagoland's leading aerial imagery companies. They provide data capture and videography and photography for all different types of industries, from film to agriculture to real estate, to even helping out construction companies or inspection companies as well. So we're very thankful for their constant support.
Definitely.
So, what are we talking about today, Steve?
Well, in our last episode, if our viewers watched it, we showed the.
No, they should have watched it.
I hope they would have.
They should
can't
watch
skip.
it. It's a good. It's a good.
It's a
episode.
good one.
If you have not watched episode 11, watch episode 11.
Right. Go back. But in that one, in our previous one, we showed the use of a drone on a fire ground. Particularly, that one was with a marina fire.
Right.
Is there any stories, any experiences that you've had with a drone, maybe working with law enforcement?
Actually, yes, there is. Recently, a little while back, our department got requested by another MABUS division out west to help support a crowd monitoring event that their law enforcement had requested the fire service to come help with. And what it was the town was having basically like a festival, and they were planning to have like 1,000 people there. And there were rumors that two rival gangs were going to start a ruckus.
Sure.
And they didn't want, obviously the ruckus to occur. So they wanted to be able to have an extra set of eyes. So we brought our drones with, and when we got there, I didn't really realize the full scale of it, but I found out there was going to be 75 law enforcement there between state, local, and county.
Oh, wow.
They actually had a tactical team that was ready to go if necessary.
So they were prepared.
They were preparing for the worst.
Sure.
In the end, nothing happened, which was pretty awesome. But I'll tell you a little bit about what we did and kind of how we did it. So the goal was, because this was going to be an evening, was to provide just basic crowd monitoring. It's basically over 9 city blocks. So there were some hazards that we had to deal with. The height of the buildings, which really wasn't much of a hazard, because anything over 100 feet, we were safe. Because we pre-planned the entire area, because we knew we were going to be doing night flights. So we made sure we had the anti-collision lights, and we had our extra VOs out there. The hardest part was dealing with not flying over people, because our departments are flying under 107. Even under public COAs, they still say you can't just fly arbitrarily over people unless you're affecting like a rescue or it's your own personnel.
Okay.
So the key thing, what we did is we actually looked both ways before crossing the street. So we flew over the buildings themselves, and once we got over towards the street, we'd point the camera down and see what was right below us, and we would kind of look a little left and a little right, and sometimes we would roll the aircraft left or right to kind of look for that gap.
Sure.
And then we would, shoot the aircraft across the gap itself.
And you never would think to look before crossing the street in the air.
No, but again, it's a safety thing, right?
Right.
You don't want to be flying over people. And we had a kind of rule of thumb of what we were looking for in the screen, because we knew where our altitude was. So, we measured on the ground that there was basically a clearing of roughly 30 to 40 feet on each side of where the drone was going to cross in. And it worked well. I mean, even as crowded as it was, there were always ways to find gaps, so we were able to kind of maneuver the drone around, like maybe a little bit further down the block, and then cross at that point and get back, and then kind of reposition and continue the monitoring. And what we did is we basically flew like a very slow mapping pattern, but manually by hand, and just was watching what we could see. And we started off with regular electro-optical cameras using the Z3, DJI Z3. So we were able to zoom in with it, and then as it got darker, we went and flipped to a XT thermal camera.
Okay.
And we could clearly see everything that was going on over there. In fact, we could see kids lying around, not lying around, but running around playing, because there was a park nearby. We could see, the foliage was always kind of a little bit of an issue trying to see through the foliage. But there was, we weren't flying over the park, but we were at the building. You can see the park, and we're just kind of looking at an angle. So, thermal isn't the end-all be-all, but we could kind of see what was kind of going on through there, and it was pretty uneventful. There are some great things that we learned. For instance, when doing these types of missions where you're having to navigate hazards, we started on the far end of the mission and then worked the drone back towards the landing zone.
Okay.
And what this allowed is, as the battery wind down, that means we had a shorter distance to actually
To get home.
to get home.
Okay.
So that
How
way-
long did that last?
Well, when we were using the Matrice 600, we were in the air for probably 45 minutes at a time. So we were actually in the air for a long time.
Right.
The other thing we did is because, we always worry about public perception because, there is kind of a, at times a negative
Right.
vibe that sometimes people get with drones that, that you're surveilling them or spying on them.
The government's spying on us.
And what we did is we actually took the monitor, a 32-inch monitor, and we set it up outside of our command area.
Okay.
And we just allowed people to look at what we were doing.
Oh, wow.
And
How was
we,
the feedback on that?
amazingly, and I'm not even joking, 100% positive.
That's awesome.
We got people that came back and said, "Hey, thanks for watching out for us. Thanks for, helping keep us safe."
Sure.
Once they could see what we were doing, they were completely kosher with it. I mean, not even someone coming up thinking like initially negative. Everybody thought the drones were cool. The kids did, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were launching like from the tarmac of the fire station there,
Okay.
and just having the screen and that transparency for that particular mission, because you were not going to miss the 600 there. Between the anti-collision lights and the existing red and green lights that are on the drone,
Right.
it looks like a UFO in the air.
And that's
I mean, it's huge, and it's not quiet. You're not sneaking up on anybody with
Right.
the thing. So it's definitely something that has a presence, and probably just its presence alone, outside of the police officers that were walking around, people would think twice about doing something nefarious
Yeah.
because
might have deterred.
it could have
Deterred if-
there's no
if
way to
something was
know.
planned.
There's no way to know for sure,
Right.
Because the supposedly neither of the gangs actually showed up to the event, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if anybody else was, thinking about anything, saying, hey, there's eyes in the sky,
Yeah.
and it's really the way I see it. It's no different than when you have those cameras on the light posts that you find here and there.
Oh, yeah. They got flashing lights on.
Flashing lights. I mean, you could definitely clearly see where these lights are, and there was nothing.
You weren't trying to hide anything.
No, in fact, we weren't originally thinking about it this way in the beginning of the mission, but looking back at it, now we're thinking, wow, just having it there was a great presence to prevent anybody from saying, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't because,
Yeah.
they might catch me on camera, for lack of better words.
Right.
And in reality, we weren't recording anything. We weren't capturing any data whatsoever, only if something... we were under strict orders by the state police. They said only when we tell you to start recording to record. So
Gotcha.
we weren't recording anything that we were doing, but again, just having that presence,
yeah.
and it was myself. The Mabus division had their drone asset out there, and then the local town also had a couple drone assets.
Wow.
So we always had one or two drones in the air at all times. We did have one issue. We had a kind of a rogue drone operator that was
Oh, no.
that came out there. So I had a 45-minute battery life, and he came up in the sky and was like, I had just a fresh set of batteries. So I literally just sat there and hovered and waited for his battery to die out. Flew the drone to find out where the drone was landing. Then we notified the state police and say, hey, we think he's over here. Would you just nicely go talk to him and say, this is a public safety mission, and we would prefer if you did not interfere with
Right.
what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, with the anti-collision lights, we also, there's no airports anywhere near this area, so we weren't really concerned about air traffic. We did have an aviation radio just to monitor.
Sure.
But the mission went really, really well, and it was.
That's awesome.
And it's just kind of to show, like, from a law enforcement's perspective, and just from a public safety standpoint, how they can be used. And in this case, don't hide them. Make them very, very,
Right.
make them very, very noticeable, and
Show
and
the
be,
public
and be very transparent about what
Yeah.
you guys are, what you're doing. And everybody was positive, because I was expecting one or two people to be like, drone spying, da 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 da, and not a single one. I was completely amazed.
Well, that's awesome. Is that your first experience working with law enforcement with drones?
As I think about it, I think it might be.
Okay, very
I'm trying
cool.
to think. Is there anything else that I've done in particular? No, actually, it is not. Another time was actually a search mission. I was called by another suburban town that's just a little bit west of us. They requested the use of a drone. Actually, when we I just started using drones
Really?
to look for potentially a victim of. They suspected a homicide, and they suspected they could be hiding somewhere in the trees. And they had tried a helicopter, but they figured a drone might be able to get into the lower areas.
Okay.
And to kind of get like that oblique angle.
Sure.
We didn't find anything, but this was actually that was about like a couple years ago. But I think those are the only law enforcement missions that we've actually done so far.
Yeah.
Now that our department has a officially the program's gone from pilot mode to we're full on making this happen mode. Our police department's on board with it. Our public works, the town's on board with the whole program. So I'm expecting to get more law enforcement missions. Actually, take that back. We did kind of had one because we did do a crowd monitoring for our own town's village festival, and it was just kind of proof of concept a little bit, just for it to kind of show what we can do from a police perspective, and they were drooling over it.
That's awesome.
So
They might have to get their own.
well, maybe, or just use ours.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Depends how much use you get out of it.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be using it on I don't see anybody using drones on a regular basis, like as much as you use like in our case a hose line, or how much they would use handcuffs for law enforcement. But there's definitely the right time and place, and it's one of those things as everybody kind of gets up to speed with flying drones. It's there's a lot to it. There's a lot of regulations. There's a lot of skills, and there's just a lot of knowledge base that just has to be made. So. It's not going to be for everybody, but for those that will be for, they'll definitely get a lot of value out of it. So, yeah.
Great. No, that's a great story, and it just shows that you don't have to have a fire or to use a drone. It's very versatile.
Absolutely.
You could use it for so much. Just pre-planning. I mean, it doesn't even have to be an incident.
No,
it could be something simple as just mapping or planning or something like that.
No, you're 100% spot on, and that's one of the key. It's one of the key things of why I really I'm really a big fan of the use of drones, just because there's such a versatile platform. I think that's going to wrap it up for us for this episode. So with that said, my name was Keenan.
My name's Steve.
And this was Saving Lives with Drones.